Hey there, and welcome to GamePoints, our weekly get-together where we talk about the last week in gaming news. I am, as always, your host, Stephen Brown. Joining me today is David Smith. Say hey, David.
Hey, hey, hey.
If you're tuning into us live at Twitch TV/GamePoints, feel free to join and participate in the chat, throw in your questions and comments, and we'll try to get to them when we can. If you're watching us on our YouTube page, feel free to comment down below and subscribe to the channel, and you'll be able to catch all of our updates then. If you are watching us live today, do keep in mind we normally stream at Monday on 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. However, since we were both at PAX last weekend, that made it a little bit impossible to do, so we have a little tad late of a show this week. Things that we're going to be talking about: one, PAX, like we mentioned. We're going to get some Overwatch changes, ask if VR is actually dying. But as always, I like to start off with what David's been playing. What have you been playing this week, David?
That's kind of a loaded question since we went to PAX. So I've been playing a shit ton of things. I think we'll get in more into that till later.
Fair enough. We don't want
You
to
want my
spoil
honest
that.
answer.
Don't want to spoil that out the gate. So what we'll do, since
Although while at PAX, if you want something that I played a lot, it turns out that remember last week in our show we were talking about the best travel games,
yes,
and one of my top picks was actually Lumines for the PSP.
yes,
It turns out that those sons of bitches from Lumines totally released a mobile version, and I had no idea.
yeah, it's on. Is it on Android as well, or is it just iOS?
Yeah, Android and iOS, it's like $2 or $3, and I totally bought that, and I played it for pretty much any part of PAX where I was in line, where I was waiting, when I was in the car. Like, that was my jam. I just played shit tons of Lumines.
Sounds good. Without further ado, let's go ahead and move in right into the first topic of this week, and that is earlier today's big PlayStation meeting that happened out in New York. This was Sony essentially announcing what we all knew was going to happen. The PlayStation Slim is real, as well as what the PlayStation 4K is going to be, and we'll get into those details in a second. But let's go ahead and start off first by saying this was a bad conference. It was reminding me of the Sony of 2008 when the PlayStation 3 first came out. It was very dry. I get it was a business meeting, but keep in mind that they were still streaming it to an audience of a whole lot of people. I don't have exact numbers in front of me, but a lot of people were watching this. There was a lot of eyes on this, and they still treated it like it was an investors meeting. That's not a good message to send out the gate. It was very dull, boring.
They shouldn't have streamed it, basically.
No, they shouldn't have streamed it.
Been a highlight sizzle reel Sony PlayStation explosion extravaganza, because that's what the internet likes, not what they did.
Absolutely. So we'll go ahead and start off. I have a whole list of notes that I took from there, and we'll start with the very first thing. That PlayStation Slim that was making the rumors, totally legit. We all kind of knew it was. The pictures are exactly what they were going for. Nothing was fake. It's been announced as the PlayStation Slim.
Big thing for me is how soon it's hitting, though, because we knew it was coming and we had rumors, but the fact that they announced it and it comes out 8 days later.
Yeah, coming September 15th for $299. Keep this in mind. It's not really a PlayStation.
Thursday.
Yeah, it's not really a PlayStation Slim as much as it's just the new standard console going forward. This is going to replace the old SKU. So if you like that old PlayStation 4 for some reason, get it now because it's going to be gone. I think they've stopped producing them.
Yep.
But yeah, this is the new standard moving forward.
Sweet bundles that pop out for it.
I'm sure there will be. $299 I don't think is a price drop, or was it $350 currently?
Well, we talked about this actually, that for the last few weeks, they've always said that the price of the PS4 was $299, and it has been for a little while now. But I mentioned it in one of our other shows that it's been impossible to find them by themselves because they only sell the standard PlayStation in bundles right now. You can only get like the Call of Duty version, the Last of Us version, whatever. Anywhere I look, that's the only one I ever see. So the fact that this is coming out for $299 is not a price change, but I'm willing to bet you can find it by itself, which does mean you're saving $50.
Yeah, I agree. Probably them trying to move out the old stock, which is why so many of them were bundled.
More than likely, they just stopped selling the standalones because they stopped making them a little while back, and they've just been pushing the bundles like crazy to make room for the stock of the Slims.
So yeah, PS Slim, September 15th, $299. David, are you going to get that one, or are you going to hold off for the other console that was shown?
I don't need a regular PS4. There's a reason I haven't bought on a PS4 so far.
Fair enough. And that reason is that the long-rumored Neo has been officially announced, and that's the PlayStation 4 Pro is what it's going to be called.
Stupid.
Yeah, dumb name, I think, but it is what
I
it
always
is.
like good names better, though. Goes all the way back to the Dolphin.
It has double the GPU power, a boosted but not replaced CPU, 1 terabyte of hard drive. It doesn't look like it's trying to be the Xbox Scorpio, but more of just a high-res system. I kind of liken it to having a computer and being able to turn your settings up from medium to high.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's not really... It's not a new console at all. It is literally just something that runs things in 4K. A few details that came about it. Several patches will be coming to allow older PlayStation 4 games to also run in 4K and HDR lighting called forward compatibility. It's not going to look as crisp or nice on there, but that high dynamic range lighting that the Neo is going to be known for, or what they're trying to push the PlayStation Pro, I guess I should call it now, is going to be backwards added into old games. Is supposed to increase the visual fidelity of VR. The same discs and downloads will play on both systems. It really is just a console meant for 4K TVs.
Mm-hmm. It's just the same exact thing, but upgraded for people that have a 4K TV.
Now, do you have a 4K TV, David?
Yup.
Yeah, so do I. But even then, I don't know if I've seen anything that's going to make me pick this up.
Here's the thing, is that this system, I don't think, is being sold to anyone that currently owns a PS4. If you currently own a PS4, I don't think you have any reason to buy the PS4 Pro. Like, honestly, if you're an existing PlayStation 4 owner, you don't really have any reason to buy this. It's also kind of a weird question because at the exact same time they announced the PS4 Slim, which would probably be the more attractive option to someone looking to get a PS4 for the first time since it's releasing at $299. So this is kind of just for people that are interested in a PlayStation but didn't want to get one because the graphics sucked?
Yeah, that's weird too. I don't necessarily
buy that. It's a really weird system because this is the first time we've ever seen one of these mid-console cycle partial upgrades. I mean, we've seen consoles come out during the middle of a cycle before, but they're normally like the slim version, the cut-down version, or if you think back to the PS2, the one that had a network card in it. But with the PS4 Pro, it's literally, hey, guys, 4K TV is becoming a thing, and we are making our system forward compatible with those. We're going to be boosting up some of the old games that you like to play, so they're going to run it at probably better FPS or just a higher fidelity in general. But besides watching Super HD television streamed from your PS4, I don't know the major selling point.
Well, this is not only that, but this is an extremely niche market they're aiming for because, like I said, you're going for people who not only don't have a PlayStation 4 already, but who have 4K TVs. And this is where the confusion comes in. If you have a 4K TV, there's a good chance you already have a PlayStation 4 because you have that disposable income to go on it. But if you're into the better visuals that a 4K TV would provide, you're probably also already a PC gamer and are big into like having the newest and greatest hardware that's out, or at least something comparable to it. And since that's still better than what the PlayStation 4 Pro is, what market are they catering to? Mm-hmm. The niche market that are big into fidelity but hate PC gaming? That's a very small Venn diagram overlap there.
I think it's just for people. See, now here's the weird thing, is that it's kind of aimed at me because I'm someone who liked PlayStation and was a Sony fan for a long time and then switched to PC gaming suddenly. But now, I mean, they have a few games on PS4 that I'd like to play, and there's, I have friends that own a PS4, so I've been looking at it for a while, but I haven't picked one up yet, and I have the TV for it, so I guess it's for me.
Yeah, I guess, but I just don't know how big of a market you are.
That's totally fair.
It just seems super confusing. In addition, the fact that they only had a bunch of Sony first-party titles, so yeah, it's Sony themselves pushing it, but they only had 2 developers show up, and that was one Activision showing off Call of Duty Infinite Warfare with some new footage, and admittedly, I think Infinite Warfare looks great. I'm looking forward to playing it, but okay, cool, Activision, and BioWare, which they actually finally did show off Mass Effect Andromeda gameplay for the first time, if I recall. Awesome. It's essentially your next step-up console, and you only had 2 third-party publishers showing up to back your console. To me, that shows that there's not that much interest on the developer side of things either. Because if there was, you would have a whole bunch of people showing up. They're like, hey, look what Activision's doing for it, and look what EA is doing for it, and this is Ubisoft and what they're programming for it, and here's BioWare having their thing, and here's all of our Sony third-party stuff showing off all this highlight stuff, and here is insert Rockstar or 2K or any other developer besides just Activision and BioWare. Two big ones, sure, but the fact that those are the only two you were able to wrangle into this big event, you treated it like a giant reveal, like it was supposed to be a mini E3 conference, and you only had these two publishers show up with games we already knew about. Now, I get this wasn't meant to be an announcement for new games or anything like that, and I'm fine if they're not announcing any games here at all, but if you're trying to show off your new system and show what developers can do with it, I would imagine you would have, developers there singing its praises.
Well, the also weird thing is that for developers, it'd probably be hard pressed to find someone who's super stoked for the PS4 Pro. I don't
even think developers are stoked for it.
No, the reason is because part of their guidelines that they're putting out is every game that comes out for the PS4 runs on the PS4. Every game that comes out for the PS4 also has a PS4 Pro version. Now, if you're building a game for VR, that means you're making a PS4 VR game, and you're also making a PS4 VR Pro version. Yeah. So potentially that means if you're a developer and you're trying to put a product on the Sony console, you have to make 4 fucking versions of your game.
Yeah,
while people that put things on PC are pretty used to dealing with graphics cards and drivers and patches and updates, I don't think console game makers have ever really wanted to deal with that. That's why they make fucking console games. Yeah, because there's one SKU to worry about.
This whole PlayStation Pro thing is just super... it's not confusing. I know what they're doing. But the push to have it is confusing. It didn't even seem like some people at Sony were all that excited to have it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't need to exist.
It's driven more by an internal need of the company than any external need from outside factors, including user base.
I think the biggest.
I don't think there's a bunch of fans clamoring for a 4K PlayStation, especially when it's going to have very few 4K actual games.
Yeah, exactly. I think the biggest question behind why is why. Why does the PlayStation 4 Pro exist? Why did they feel like they needed to do it? Like, I don't get it. Why not just...
the amount of updates and everything else that's happening in the video game world right now.
Why not just then wait a year?
For a decade?
Wait a year, save all the resources and money in research and development costs, wait until the end of 2017, and then go, we are now announcing the PlayStation 5. Because that would be 5 years of the PlayStation 4. Remember, the console cycles are typically only 5 years long. The last one we got out of was abnormally long. 8 years for a cycle for PlayStation 3 is abnormally long. The difference between N64 and GameCube, I think, was 5 years. Between PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 was 5 years. Between the Xbox and Xbox 360 was 4 years, if I recall. I could be a little wrong in those dates, but I don't think I am. 8 years that we had with the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 is extremely unusual. And we're at that 5-year mark now. So why release this console? Why not just wait a year and build something like what Scorpio is, like the Microsoft's new console, which essentially is the Xbox One 2. I don't get it. I don't get why this console exists.
It's weird. But it's a thing, and it's happening. And it's coming to you November 10th for $399.
Yeah, November 10th, $399 is when it's announced. But back to that conversation I was talking about earlier. What if you buy it on November 10th, $399? The new consoles can't be that far away. Sony's not going to sit on the sidelines as the Scorpio, which is markedly more powerful. Like,
do we have actual hard powerful Scorpio yet?
Yeah, we have some specs, and we have some rumors, and it all sounds like it's significantly more powerful than what this is. Sony's not going to sit back on the sidelines. So if you buy the PlayStation Pro in November for $400, how long until Sony releases a new console? Year? 2 years?
Guaranteed 5 years.
It's not going to be 5 years.
Because this is an all-new console.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to be 5 years. Some other tidbits that came out of the conference. They are going to have a Netflix app with 4K shows on there, so you'll be able to do 4K streaming, but not play 4K Blu-rays, which is another mind-boggling decision to me, because people are going to be invested in this since this console targets only 4K.
Blu-ray and the PS4 Pro and watch them in 4K.
Well, I missed that. What was that?
I'm saying you can't take your Ultra HD 4K Blu-ray and put it in your Ultra HD 4K PlayStation.
Nope.
That seems whack.
Yeah, that's another baffling decision on their end, because the people who are going to buy this are going to be the ones invested in 4K gaming and 4K viewing. And why buy a console that's highlighting 4K if you can't play your fucking 4K Blu-rays on it? I don't. Everything about this console is just mind-boggling to me, and it doesn't make sense why it even exists. This console should not exist, if you were to ask me. And at the end of the day, what's the difference between this and the PlayStation 4 Pro and the Xbox One S? I take that back. I know what the difference is. 4K gaming. But guess what the S can do? The Xbox One S. It could play HD Blu-rays. And it already does. It's... Oh, Sony.
Here's a big thing, though, to take away from. I mean, of this whole story of worrying about Sony and the PS4 Pro and the PS4 Slim and all this other shit, the big important thing that you really need to take away from all this is that I was right and Steven was wrong, because this shit's coming out before Black Friday, so suck it.
Yeah, I was surprised that it's coming out this year. I thought it would be early next year, but apparently not. Before we go on to the next topic, we do have a couple photos from the event that I want to show. This is the PlayStation 4 Slim and the PS4 Pro in the wild. Slim's a little bit not as wide, a little bit thinner. The PlayStation 4 kind of looks like someone smushed two PlayStation 4s together. Here is the sell sheets for them right here. PlayStation 4, September 15th for $299. PlayStation 4 Pro, November 10th, 2016. So they're coming. The DualShocks look a little bit different too. They have a little bit more of a textured knobs on them. I want to compare them to the originals first. But yeah, I get the Slim. I understand why that's coming. I don't get why the Pro exists at all.
It's a thing. You can buy it if you want it.
Yep, for sure. Anyways, next topic. David. VR's been out for a couple months. Had a heavy showing at PAX, right? You saw a bunch of stuff with VR?
Everything was VR, including like half the indie games that you could see now have VR. Which is fun. Cool.
Yeah, I'm sure it's fun, but unfortunately it's not really enough to drive a market. So we're going to ask today is VR dying? A report via VentureBeat.com, I should say an article from via VentureBeat.com, which I'm going to bring up right here, has a report from Steam talking about how the user base for PlayStation, both Vive and Oculus Rift have essentially stagnated. This is from the article right here. The number of new HTC Vive owners on Steam grew only 0.3% in July and was flat in August, according to a survey of customers that Valve's distribution network uses. The Oculus Rift headset from the Facebook subsidiary saw a similar stagnation of 0.3% in July and 0.1% in August. As of this point, only 0.18% of Steam users own the Vive and only 0.1% own the Rift. That is 0.1% own VR, essentially, that are on Steam.
I can tell you why.
Why is that?
I can tell you why actually very quickly on why nobody owns a Rift or a Vive.
Why is that?
So, both of these things released pretty much close to each other, more or less. And there was a whole bunch of hype about it, right?
Right.
And a whole bunch of things got announced for them, which are all like the new check out our VR video games nonsense. I challenge you to name any single AAA VR title that is released for either of these consoles since their start. Name it literally anything. Any AAA, any killer app, more or less, for one of these headsets that would get anyone to put it on besides the initial hype. There's been nothing.
Nope, not a damn thing.
And there was a shit ton of things shown off.
Yeah.
At PAX. Some stuff looks really cool, but nothing has come out. There is nothing you can buy for these things that's not some indie developed wish-washy game. There's nothing with any bite to it, really.
And you combine that with the fact that they are $600 and $800 just for the gear, and that's not counting the rig you need to run it, which is going to cost between $1,000 to $1,500.
To play a bunch of mini games and move around in your living room,
yeah,
which we
absolutely.
did already with Connect, and the PlayStation Move years ago. Everybody bought those, and the price to entry was a hell of a lot lower, so you can dance around in your living room like an idiot.
So is
I mean,
VR in
these things
trouble?
are super cool, and I like VR. I want it to succeed. I'm just kind of upset that no one's bothering to make anything for it.
Is VR in trouble?
VR is in trouble if people continue to not make things for it, which is very upsetting because I really want VR to succeed because it's fucking awesome.
I think the PlayStation VR is going to be what turns this around.
I'm kind of counting on it. I think we talked about this before, is that the PlayStation VR is the one that I need to succeed because it has the most mass marketability. It's available to a lot of people because a lot more people have a PS4 that's ready for VR than owning a computer that's ready for VR. And it's just not as expensive in general.
Flat out. And they actually have games, like AAA stuff, announced
they
for
have
it.
shit tons of games. The 4 games that are coming out, like you have Drive Club Res, you have 100 Foot Robot Golf, there's actually a list of games that look like someone has put an amount of time into them.
There's Farpoint, that's their big first-person shooter game coming out. It's more than just experiences. Resident Evil 7, for example, PlayStation VR focused.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas both the Vive and the Oculus Rift are great pieces of hardware, but it's all indie / third-party / secondary add-on features tacked on to AAA games that use it rather than actually an honest-to-God game. A big game.
Star Trek Bridge Crew looks cool.
Yeah, but that's a gimmick still.
Riggs looks awesome.
Not for Rift or Vive, though. That's PlayStation VR, which, once again, is why I'm thinking this might be what saves it. But as of right now, the VR scene is very, very rough. It's full of potential, but no actualization at the moment.
It's weird because it's like an entire console cycle that's just living in Steam Greenlight.
Yeah, no, that's a perfect way
VR
of saying
is
it.
more or less like a new console. That's the easiest way to look at it. But there's just... Has Activision announced any hardcore VR games? Ubisoft?
Ubisoft has that weird Eagle Flight thing coming out. They have some stuff that uses VR.
Square?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. You're driving the point home. There's nothing out for it beyond a bunch of smaller titles or free-to-play shit or indie games. And honestly, if I dropped $800 on a Vive, I'm going to want AAA experiences on that Vive.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I think the fun you can get with VR right now is probably on a fucking, like, one of the Samsung or Google Cardboard or something, just playing all the phone games. So you're more the same experience, just at less fidelity.
Here's a question. What's a bigger hindrance to it? The price, or let me rephrase that. The requirements of entry, or the lack of games?
Lack of games, for sure.
You don't think it's the requirements of entry? You don't think that more people are not buying it because it is fucking $2,300 to build a new PC to run VR and to buy the headset to play it?
Is the Samsung VR flying off the shelves?
But is that really VR, though?
I'm just saying, if you want a pseudo VR experience, you can get one for $100, or Google Cardboard for $26, or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, I'm not counting this. I'm talking like actual hardware, because those are kind of like cheating VR. That's not really a VR experience.
But for the layman, it can be more or less the same, and it's just right now people have no reason to be excited about VR.
Other than the fact that it's VR.
Yeah, besides just the appeal of the fact that it is virtual reality, more or less, even though I don't think the Vive even has its controllers out yet, right? Or the Oculus, one of them, I don't fucking remember.
No, the Vive has its controllers out. I've had them in my hand.
Okay, so it's the Oculus that hasn't released yet. They're supposed to come out at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think the Rift is supposed to have an Xbox controller bundled with it. I think you use an Xbox controller with it, if I recall. Once again, I don't have either one of these, and honestly, beyond the occasional story like this, we don't even talk about it.
What are you doing?
Say that again. I was talking over you.
Unless you own and play a bunch of Project Cars, what would you use it for?
Exactly. But once again, I do think that VR is not dead. I think the PlayStation VR is going to come out. I think its price point and the fact that it's going to have games very quickly for it is going to turn that around. The key to PlayStation VR being a success is cranking out. I don't want to say cranking out because it makes it sound like they're low quality games, but you need to have a bunch of stuff that's going to use that headset so it doesn't just sit on your mantelpiece as a cute little tchotchke you occasionally pull out when you want to show someone who doesn't game something cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there has to be some real functionality to it, and that's
I'm
not
not gonna
what...
lie, there was some cool ass shit shown off at PAX for VR that I want to play.
No, agreed.
Dragonfront being on the tip of my tongue.
Same here. Dragonfront looked really cool. But yeah, the Vive and the Oculus Rift just does not have that yet. It's an expensive gimmick right now. It's an expensive gadget. It's not Virtual Boy by any means, but man, they just shows you the dangers of early adoption, I guess. Next topic.
More dangerous things. Releasing crappy versions of games that people want to play.
Absolutely. This story here is via Eurogamer.net, and it's that
I actually
Federation...
kind of love this story, which is kind of bad.
I missed that. What was that?
I kind of love this story, which is sort of bad.
Don't love it, and I'll tell you why. But Metroid Prime Federation Force is essentially a failure. We have numbers for both Japan and Europe right here. This article is covering the Europe side. Essentially, that launched last Friday in Europe, the much maligned 3DS spinoff has performed abysmally in the UK charts. Federation Force is entirely absent from the UK all-format top 40, which hosts other ancient 3DS games on its list, such as New Super Mario Bros. 2 and Tamagotchi Life. In fact, it doesn't even make up 3DS's own top 10. You have to look down to 15th place to find out where it finally turned up. It's underneath Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. Underneath Mario Kart 7, a game that has been out for a very long time. Same with Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D. These are all games that have been out for quite a while, and it has bombed. It's for a new game to show up at 15th place underneath all those is terrible. In addition, in the home country of Japan, Federation Force has failed to chart in the Japanese software top 20. Federation Force's absence from the software top 20 means it sold less than 4,441 copies during its opening week. That's bad.
Dear Nintendo, I know you kind of hate your fans and you hate money, but this is why you listen to your fucking fans ever. Stop collectively shoving all of your heads in all of your asses and release the fucking games that people want.
So, here's the problem with this not selling well. Metroid has never sold well at all. That's actually one of the great myths that are out there, that Metroid is one of Nintendo's big franchises. They're definitely one of their iconic franchises, yes. But as far as big selling names, Metroid is on the extreme low end of that. It does not sell all that much money. So that is, in my opinion, why they tried making Federation Force. Because people kept going, give us a new Metroid, give us a new Metroid. And it's like, okay, well, you don't buy the other Metroids, so here's Federation Force. They're trying to do something new. And it's not selling at all. So my fear is, I get that people are excited that Federation Force isn't doing well. It's kind of a schadenfreude thing to be happy over something that you don't like bombing.
Mm-hmm.
But the big fear is Nintendo is going to look at this and go, oh, well, fans don't want Metroid, so we're just never going to make another Metroid. And it might kill the franchise entirely. The same reason why I'm afraid that the recent Star Fox game actually killed Star Fox from ever showing up again.
Now, be that as it may, if these games killed these franchises, I mean, I'll follow you here. But I don't believe in any way that it's the fans' fault, because they don't want this game. So why the fuck would they buy it?
Because they're not buying Metroid to begin with.
Well, even the amount of people that would normally buy a Metroid game.
It's not high. They're not getting back their dev costs on it. Compared to other games that Nintendo could focus on making and the profit margins they're getting from that, Metroid is not a big moneymaker for them. Like I said, it's one of the great myths that everyone thinks Metroid's one of Nintendo's big flagship titles, and there should always be a Metroid every year, like there's a Link and a Mario. The reality is, Metroid's iconic as fuck, but it doesn't sell. It doesn't make money.
She's the Wonder Woman of the Holy Trinity.
Yes. I am very afraid that this might kill the franchise. They're going to go, well, Metroid doesn't sell. We tried changing it. We made traditional Metroid games. They didn't sell. We tried changing it up. They didn't sell. So why should we make another one? It's not the Metroid I wanted, but I don't want to see it crash and burn like it is either. And unfortunately, that is the case. Next topic. This was announced over at PAX, but The Walking Dead Season 3. This is TellTale's Walking Dead, the not the TV show or the comics or anything like that. But the Telltale's Walking Dead Season 3 is going to come out in November. This is directly from the blog from Telltale right here. Quote, the third new season will serve both as a continuation of what's to come in our story, as well as an all-new beginning set of nearly 4 years after the outbreaks of Season 1, said Kevin Brunner, co-founder and CEO of Telltale Games, while speaking at PAX. Players would take control of Players would take control of series newcomer Javier, a man struggling to keep his family together in the new world. Also playing as Clementine, now a teenage survivor holding the secrets of her past while fighting to protect her family of her own. I liked Walking Dead Season 1. Season 2 was alright, not as good as the first one. Excited for Season 3. I like that it's actually 4 years later. I like the big time jump there. I don't even think the comics or the TV show are 4 years later. I could be wrong on that because they did have quite a big time jump. But if it is not farther ahead in the timeline than the comics, then it is at least at the same time as the comics. You ever play Walking Dead games?
What's funny is I own a couple of Telltale games, and I've still never played them. I mean, I've seen them played, and I've watched some of the Walking Dead, and it definitely looks cool when the story does kind of grab you. But for some reason, I've never just sat down and put aside the time for it.
Yeah, if you never have and you don't have the time for it, I'd always recommend just YouTubing a playthrough because...
Mm-hmm. But I have done that. I have watched it played, and it's very enjoyable. I like the way they build their stories and everything. So,
and ultimately, there's not too much variation. Telltale games give like the illusion of choice, but never real choice. It's I heard this likened on another show, and the show escapes me, but they essentially said that the Telltale games are kind of like a coloring book. Everyone gets the same picture, but they shaded it. Everyone shades it in a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
Same idea here. So you can watch a YouTube clip of it, and while they might not necessarily have made the choices that you wanted them to, it will all eventually end up the same way. For example, Season 3, I doubt is going to take over any of the choices they made with Season 2, and those both ended rather dramatically depending on who you sided with, if anyone at all. Being set 4 years later kind of takes care of that problem. You can just say, oh yeah, it didn't work out, and move on. So
kind of gloss aside, no, this happened or this happened, but it doesn't really matter too much because it's in the past already.
So yeah, if you never really bought them and you have no interest in buying them, at least go through and take a look at them on YouTube. Watch a Let's Play. Go to some Twitch channel and take a look at it. It's worth your time to at least watch the story. The first one, I think, was one of the best things Telltale's done. So go with that what you will. Either way, I'm excited for it. Should come out in November. No word on how many episodes, though if it follows true to the other ones, I believe it's going to be 5. But then again, Telltale has broken that mold lately with Minecraft Story Mode, which is now about to release its 8th episode. So we'll see if they extend the season out or not. One thing that does kind of concern me a little bit is the fact that they have this newcomer, Javier, rather than Clementine. Clementine's kind of the big staple, and while she wasn't the main character of the first one, she was always there. This time around, they have this new guy that seems to be in the starring role, and she seems delegated as a secondary character. To me, that means they're going to constantly tease the fuck out of her dying over and over again, and I don't want that. I don't want them to give it the slow jerk on if they're going to kill her off or not.
Either that or they just make her a complete badass.
Well, we'll see. But yeah, November if you want to watch the next season of that. Next topic. Overwatch Season 2 has officially kicked off, as well as launching the new map, Eichenwalde. Now, David, you and I both play Overwatch rather regularly. I think you've slowed down a little bit on it, but I'm still on there at least daily.
It's a good game. Enjoy it.
We had a whole bunch of patch notes coming out for it. Let me go ahead and bring them up right here. Here's Blizzard's official patch listing. Essentially, Season 2 for the competitive mode has kicked off. The biggest changes, only one hero per match now, so you can't stack them up.
Finally.
They switched the skill rating system. It was before 1 to 100. Now it's 1 to 5,000. And the reason why they did that is because you could play like 9 matches in a row, win a couple, lose a couple, and maybe only move one slot. And it was really hard to tell why. Not only that, but apparently if you were ranked 60, like if you were level 60 in the competitive season, you were actually in the top 10% of Overwatch players. You just couldn't. Hilarious. Yeah, you just couldn't. But that doesn't make sense to you, does it? I see 60, I think D-.
Yeah.
So they definitely changed it up. There are several tiers now. There's Bronze, Silver, Gold, Platinum, Diamond, Master, and Grandmaster. If you were in Bronze, Silver, Gold, Platinum, and Diamond, you're not going to drop out of the tier if you end up de-leveling past that. So let's say, for example, Platinum is...
Once you hit the number, you stay in it.
Yeah, let's say Platinum's cap is 600. Once you hit 600, you're Platinum. If you drop down to 590, you don't go down in Platinum. You still have your Platinum skill. However, if you're in Master and Grandmaster, if you drop below it, you do drop back down to Diamond. You get sent back to the minors, as it were. To get Master and Grandmaster, you must be within 500... I take that back. I'm reading something. I'm getting my notes crossed here. Grouping is a little bit better now. If you're in the Master and Grandmaster tier, you have to be within 500 skill levels of your other party members if you're in a team. So you can't take someone who's in Bronze along with you, for example. You need to have someone close. Same with Diamond, only it's within 1,000 skill rating for the group makers. Players in Diamond, Grandmaster, and Master can't just sit on their ranking. You have to constantly keep playing or there's skill decay. Essentially, if you haven't played for a match in 7 days, you lose your skill rating. Players of skill rating of above 3,000, which is Diamond 2 or higher, will lose 50 rating points every 24 hours, but their rating will not fall below 3,000. If you're a Grandmaster and you decay, you will decay below that, from what I understand. If you haven't played a competitive match within 7 days, so in other words, let's say you get way up high on the Grandmaster rankings and you just go, nope, I'm out for the rest of the season. If you don't play for 7 days, you are immediately kicked out of the top 500.
You're right.
Which I like. You don't get to just sit on the sidelines if you had a really good or lucky match. Let's say...
You have to keep playing because they really want to make it sorted out so that by constantly forcing you to play, the skills will really start to hammer out and the people that are really good will be able to pull ahead. You won't have people that just get lucky scores and sit on them.
Not only that, but let's say I luck out and I'm on like a 5-man... I'm the one person and there's a 5-man team on there that's able to just carry me repeatedly throughout the day. I should not be in the top 10%. That 5-man team might be able to. So if I can't keep doing it, it's going to drop you. Other changes. Sudden death is gone. Games can now end in a tie, but they do say that the new balance changes they made should keep that from happening. I am extremely happy that sudden death is gone.
Yeah, sudden death was kind of whack.
Because essentially who was the attacker almost always won because you just had to push it to the first checkpoint, and who the fuck couldn't do that?
Yeah.
Eichenwalde has been officially released. It's the new Assault Hybrid map taking place in German City. We talked about it in detail a couple shows back, so if you want to take a look at that, you definitely can.
It's very cool.
And Watchpoint Gibraltar's first checkpoint has been removed. The idea behind it was that balances that they made in previous patches made it unnecessary. Kind of agree.
Close. You push it slightly right and down a hill.
Yeah, kind of agree. There were various other character changes. You can definitely take a look at the patch notes provided down below in the link if you're watching on YouTube if you really want to get into it. But beyond that, yeah, Season 2 for Overwatch now in full effect. I am currently in the process of doing my placement matches and losing every one of them.
Excellent. Good job. I believe in you.
David, a little bit weak for new releases this week, but we're going to go ahead and go through them anyways. These are new releases for the week of September 5th, 2016. This is all stuff that should already have been released, but we'll go through it anyways.
Take that. Just in case you missed it, Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Spirit of Justice released on 3DS. If you're a Phoenix Wright type of person, then you are the kind of person who probably already bought this. Just saying, people like Phoenix Wright tend to really like Phoenix Wright.
I like it. I got no beef against Phoenix Wright. I haven't played one since the DS, though.
It's more or less Phoenix Wright number 6. It's the shortest way to say it. It's Phoenix Wright game. There's some changes and details and things, but you are a ridiculously over-the-top lawyer, and you lawyer the shit out of people all the time. That's your move. Get on it.
It's a good move. Also
released this week, Mother Russia Bleeds hits for PC. This game is actually a throwback to the old school, like, Final Fight, Double Dragon, side-scrolling beat-em-up, but with a Russian aesthetic. I don't know.
Exceedingly violent.
It looks super violent. From what I've heard of the game, it looks okay, but it's not as solid mechanically as the old-school beat-em-ups.
Yeah, I played a little bit of at PAX. Devolver Digital had this massive TV set up, and I just sat down and started playing it real quick. It's all right. I don't know if I'd ever buy it. It exists, and that's about the kind of thing I can say about it.
Disappointing time from Devolver Digital at PAX.
Yeah, they
I really like them, but they didn't have a whole lot of stuff shown off that was like, oh shit, I need that.
What else we got?
So we got Project High Rise hitting for PC. It is a high-rise style management game. more or less. You
Build a skyscraper.
build a skyscraper, get it up there, get it all up there. Which is funny because I'm pretty sure we also saw a game at PAX, which is the opposite, which was like basements, and
Yeah,
you
it was
build
called Basement, and it's about building the drug lab underneath your mother's basement.
Yeah, that one was way better because you keep digging under and underground so that you can hide all your drugs from your parents because you live in the basement. That's pretty funny. Also, out this week, Just Sing hits PS4 and Xbox. It is all the greatness of a musical game, but only with microphones. Pretty sure it's like a 4-microphone singing game
It is.
that
It's
only has harmony songs, and their booth at PAX was too big. That's all I have.
It's the karaoke version of Just Dance.
Yep.
From the same people and everything. Anyways, that kind of wraps up new releases. I know it's not many, but it is what it is. Let's go ahead and talk about this week's topic of the week, and that is GamePoints at PAX. We were at PAX last week. That's why the show's on Wednesday and not Monday.
What? No way.
No, weird, huh? So we're essentially just going to kind of talk about the things that we enjoyed there. We're going to talk about our 3 biggest games of the show, rather. Anything that might have stood out that we feel like is worth mentioning. What we loved about it, what we hated about it, and go from there. If you happen to be at PAX over the weekend, feel free to join us in chat and ask us anything or let us know what you enjoyed or hated about it as well. But let's start off with what we thought our games of the show was. David, go ahead and start us off there and save your big one for last because it's tied with mine.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're going for. So there was a bunch of games that I actually really enjoyed. Some smaller games, some bigger games. Some of the smaller ones that I really liked include a game called Ian Alter, which is actually super cool because it's more or less a couch co-op D&D game where you control your character with your phone, although you don't know Jack. And it's pretty fun because your character sheet's saved on your phone. So
What's it called?
Ian Alter.
Ian
It was in
Alter.
the back of the indie showcase. It was pretty cool. I got to play it.
Yeah, I totally missed that.
And basically, your character sheet's on your phone. So, like, your character's traits or maybe what they want to have happen is listed on your phone and your phone alone. So you're not looking at a menu on the screen. You can control it kind of just like you'd play a phone video game. You move around the corners, and when you get into combat, it's a turn-based combat system. I thought it was pretty fun. It's actually an episodic game, so they have a lot of storyline built into it. They also have some like arena-style modes. I was playing parts of the second episode, which I think are coming out very soon, but there already is a first episode out. Super looking into it. It looks awesome.
Yeah, definitely have to keep me posted on that. One of the games that I saw that I really loved was Diluvian. I have been keeping an eye on Diluvian since 2014 when it was first announced. It's from Arachnid Games. These are the same guys that bought you Ballpoint Universe. It is an underwater exploration survival game that is not procedurally generated. Everything is actually handcrafted down there, which is what catches my interest because there's an actual plot and story to it rather than just dropping out in the middle of nowhere and saying, go forth and explore. You actually are looking for something. The premise is the world's flooded, Waterworld style. You play as Kevin Costner in a submarine going around trying to find an artifact that might reverse everything.
Excellent. It's pretty good.
What else do you see there, David?
So one of the games that I got super into while I was there was one of the games with a very large booth called Drop Zone. And it's interesting because the way they build this game is it's more or less a MOBA-style game built out of an RTS where you, as a player, will be matched up against another player. I think they have 2v2, and they're planning more modes as the day goes. But basically, you can control 3 units at the same time. And it's, got a little bit of that micromanagement in it because you can send them out separately, you can send them together. You're fighting for resources against another player. And it's got, like I said, it's got that MOBA feel because you get into combat and you have spells and abilities you use with QWER. But you also have 3 separate units that you can break apart. You can flank people, you can sneak around the map, you can capture vision nodes. And it's just this kind of sci-fi space epic looking game. And they gave me a beta key, so I'm excited.
Fair enough. Another game that I saw that I really caught my eye was Dawn of War 3. Now, this is hardly a minor title. It's done by Relic, published by Sega. It's a long-standing franchise in the RTS world, but goddamn, did it play wonderfully. I was able to get a hold of it for about 45 minutes or so. They brought back base building, so it has all the stuff that I love from 2 about it, but fixed all the bullshit that I hated from 2, including the fact that I can actually build bases like I could before. And I hated that trend RTSs were having, to which it's like, oh, you just actually get to move 3 or 4 powerful units around and they respawn. No, fuck that. Give me a base. Let me build a base, goddammit. And Dawn of War 3 lets me build the base.
Build a base. Get your bases on.
My only concern about Dawn of War 3 right now is some balancing issues. The mission that I played was late game, and they had everything unlocked, including a Imperial Knight, which, if you don't play 40k, what Imperial Knight is kind of like a giant stompy mech with a bunch of firepower on it, and this thing was nigh unkillable. In fact, any of the enemies that I was going up against, this thing could have taken out on its own. And that's a bit of a balance problem for me. So if I can just build that and send it to kill everything, what else do I need everything else for? Now, in its defense, the enemy themselves that I was playing against this demo did not unleash any of their super heavy weaponry either. So it could be countered by their equivalents.
I was going to say, that sounds remarkably just like the Titans from the first game. You build a Titan, and your Titan kills everything unless there's another Titan.
Yeah, just something to watch out for. But I'm just hoping that was because it was a demo and not the final game. But yeah, Dawn of War 3 is amazing. I'm loving it.
All right. So my next one is actually the most convincing reason so far for me to keep looking at PS4s.
Okay.
Because, I mean, like I said, I've been on the fence and off the fence for quite a while now. But I finally got my hands on the next game from Guerrilla Games, who are the guys that made Killzone. And that's Horizon Zero Dawn. And that game is fucking gorgeous.
Amazing.
It looks fantastic. I got to sit in the kind of demo whatever room and watch some of the later level gameplay and watch some footage. And then they sent you into the back and I was actually able to play that game hands-on. It plays great. It's got that whole cool future dystopia aesthetic where the world's taken over by a bunch of machines, but people have gone straight up primal status, living in tribes and bands of people. You play as a girl that I can't remember her name, but she's pretty awesome, kind of Nordic looking with long red braids. And you can run around, you can hack these robots, you can sneak. If you're caught, they start whistling for backup and all these things come out to kill you. But it felt very solid. Now, the demo was very limited, so I was kind of upset I didn't get to see more of the world. But anytime I turned the camera, it was just gorgeous. And the combat felt really good. I don't know. I'm very excited for that next game. From
Horizon
Guerrilla.
looks amazing. They did show some more Horizon footage at the Sony conference earlier today in 4K. The problem is that when you're showing a game in 4K, but you're streaming it on 1080p streams, you really don't get that 4K glimpse, which is probably the biggest problem of that conference. Going back,
but playing that game in 4K is kind of the reason why I'm still looking at the PS4 Pro, because I don't know one.
It does look amazing. Another thing that I saw before we get into what your big game of the show was is Dragonfront.
Dragonfront is awesome.
Dragonfront is a Rift exclusive, going back to the fact that there are no games on the Rift like we're talking about. And it's a card game of all things. But god damn it, a card game in VR is so fucking cool because your characters actually stand up and look at you. Dragonfront is...
Oh, dude, I love the fact that you're playing like this playing card game, and then you look down to look at your elite unit who you just placed on the map, and he looks at you and gives you like the fist to the heart salute.
Yeah.
Before you send him off to kill your enemy.
It's a card game based on a 4x4 grid. You play your cards, which causes units to appear, and you send them forward. It has this fantasy crossed with World War II aesthetic, which I've never seen before. For example,
called it Diesel Punk. More or less, take a fantasy universe and continue that fantasy universe in history and everything and development until it hits World War II.
So, for example, the elite unit of the side that I was playing, imagine if General Patton was a paladin. And that was essentially what he was. And he was charging against a bunch of skeletal stormtroopers.
Oh, yeah, the stormtroopers were pretty hardcore. There's 6 major factions in the game. We were talking to the devs on this for a little while. And there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's just really cool to sit there in VR and be like, okay, I'm playing this card here, and then it turns into a rendered 3D unit that you can then kind of interact with.
Now, Dragonfront itself is cool, but what that game really did was opened my eyes to even more potential for VR. Could you imagine if, like, Wizards of the Coast made a Magic the Gathering VR app?
Oh, yeah.
Or Tabletop Simulator in VR? Or if Fantasy Flight Games was like, hey, you know what? Rather than spending $100 for a board game, spend 60 and here's all of it in VR.
Mm-hmm. Although I will call out High Voltage's other franchise they had on display there, which was
Damage Core?
Damage Core. Because that game is also in VR, also very cool because you basically play as a sentient AI that has the ability to possess other robotic life forms. And you're given a mission by these kind of guerrillas that are fighting back against this, I guess, robot army invasion, whatever the fuck's going on. And you can jump into different cameras, and you can actually jump into the head of these robots and start murdering your former fellow robots until they catch on to you, and then you jump into the head of something else. So it's very cool, and you play it all in VR, so you're looking around for targets to sneak into so that you can then murder these robots and then jump around, and that's actually how you progress through the level. It's
Very
just
nice.
Jumping between different things. It's very fun.
So, David, are there any other games you want to mention before we move on to the big one?
I actually have one last game that I really enjoyed, and it's funny because I did not see this game until the last day that I was at PAX. So actually, Monday morning at 10 a.m., I decided to go figure out where the PAX bags were, and instead found a game called Fractured Space. Fractured Space is a 5v5 multiplayer battle game where you can control capital warship like space naval combat. And we're talking 1 to 2 mile long battleships that have like thousands of crew members, so the controls are very sluggish and slow when you fly around in space with another team of 5 and you just wage war in the skies, and it's awesome.
Fantastic.
And that shit's free.
It's
in
free
like
to play.
Open beta right now on Steam.
Yeah, take a look at it. It's Fractured Space if you want to go on it. So this moves us into, I believe, GamePoints Game of Show.
Oh, GamePoints Game of Show is actually really easy if you know either of us in real life.
And that is BattleTech.
BattleTech. Fuck yes. Oh my God, I cannot wait.
Harebrained Schemes. Going back to the same FASA well that brought us Shadowrun and bringing back BattleTech. It is in super pre-alpha right now. They had the demo running there, and god damn it, that super pre-alpha
looks better and plays better than most of the BattleTech and or MechWarrior games that I've played in the last decade.
Break down what BattleTech was for people who don't know much about the game.
Ever played? Do you want like the whole franchise?
No, just the game.
Well, if you know what MechWarrior is, you have an idea taking place in the same universe. BattleTech and MechWarrior are the same license. BattleTech is throwing all the way back to the board game from the 80s, and it really controls more like that. If you ever played the Mech Commander series, think more on that scale, but with a grid-like system. So you take your units, you're dropped in an area, you have a mission, you move in a hex-based plot of land until you actually get sensor contact with an enemy, and then it'll move into a phase-based combat system with your faster units going first, and then on down the line until you get to your slowest units. And it just feels great to play. It feels like playing the old school tabletop game, except for I don't have to worry about rolling all the dice, and I still have to worry about getting critical headshotted just as much.
That is what I wanted to bring up above all else. It is the closest I've seen to capturing the way the board game, tabletop game plays.
I think besides games that are actually just pure digital recreations of a classic tabletop game, and I mean that in like the playing Monopoly online or playing Ticket to Ride, and it's literally the same game but digital. This is the closest I've seen to a tabletop board game being converted digitally.
Yeah, and I'm absolutely excited for it. I like the fact that... Go ahead.
I really enjoyed the way... I mean, there's only so many units to play with in the alpha, but the balance felt right. I liked the additional move speed. I like the way that they can balance the turns. You can hold back phases on units so that you can use them at a later initiative phase. I don't know.
I like that heat
management. It also looked amazing for being pre-alpha.
Yeah, same here. I thought it looked amazing for pre-alpha. And I love that heat management is so goddamn important in the game, because it was so important in the tabletop. And here, if you're firing everything every turn, you're going to shut down and get murdered. So you need to really be aware of what you're firing and when. But yeah, Battletech should be coming out 2017. Easily GamePoints PAX Game of Show. I think we're both eagerly awaiting it, and if we both were into Kickstarter, I think we would have thrown money down on it already.
That's true.
Anyways, we are getting to that time before we wrap up. David, was there anything specific you wanted to call out about PAX in general, not necessarily related to games?
PAX is too fucking crowded, and y'all need to shower more.
Yeah, occasionally there would be someone who did not understand what deodorant was, and damn, it would smell horrible. I am very disappointed about the big VR push.
There was so much VR there. It was actually kind of insane how much VR was there.
I love VR. I love the idea of it, but I don't want to put on a headset that 50 other people have used before me.
Thank you. Shit tons of headsets, no Purell. What are you thinking?
Magic the Gathering had a fucking fantastic presence there to go off on something that's not GamePoints related.
Yeah, Magic the Gathering went completely insane. They took over an entire street and turned it into Karesh from one of like wherever their new expansion set. You turn a corner and all of a sudden you're in some like Middle Eastern paradise. There's all these tents everywhere. There's all these people dressed up in these elaborate costumes. There's a giant mechanized fucking horse thing. There's people making blown glass sculptures. There's a blacksmith guy going to town on some shit. And then they actually took over the Paramount Hotel, and the entire downstairs was just magic heaven for people that love Magic the Gathering. It was nuts. They also gave out free decks, which is bomb.
Yeah, brilliant marketing move. Here's this deck with not too many rares or uncommons in there, but a whole bunch of commons to kind of give you a taste of what's going on. Go ahead, take it home. It's a full deck. You can play against whoever you want. Think Arabian Nights crossed with steampunk, and that will give you an idea of what they converted an entire street into. It was really fucking cool. Something else I was going to mention. I don't remember what anymore.
Divinity Original Sin 2.
That looks good. Final Fantasy 15 looks rough.
Oh, yeah.
Before I set off, I had a behind closed doors chance to play Final Fantasy 15 for an hour and a half, and I see where the game wants to go, and I really enjoyed a lot of my time with it, but that game was not just delayed because of a patch, and I would be unsurprised if that game gets delayed until 2017.
Meanwhile, in a completely different way, Divinity Original Sin 2 is coming along fantastic, and their soon-to-be released, I think, beta that they have coming out is just going to be like an opening prologue chapter. They've gone from one writer in the original game to having 9, and I was talking to one of the devs, and the beta that they're going to be releasing fairly soon in the next couple months has more dialogue and just writing in it than the entire first game.
Jesus fucking Christ. That's big.
That game's going to be big.
One final thing about PAX, Grindcraft plays excellent music, but plays it way too fucking loud. My ears were ringing after that, so that kind of sums that up. But anyways, I think that wraps it up for the day. We have hit that time, and this has been GamePoints episode 60. Once again, if you're watching us live here on Twitch, we do normally stream Mondays at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But this was a little bit of a weird situation because we were coming back from PAX and we had the Sunday conference. We wanted to wait for to get all that in. If you're watching us on YouTube, thanks for watching. Feel free to subscribe to us down there. Follow us if you're watching us on Twitch. You can watch all of our previous videos on YouTube as long as they weren't fucked by audio or video for some reason.
Also, if you're checking out our YouTube, stay tuned because at some point when I sort through all my fucking GoPro video, I will be putting up a whole bunch of footage from PAX.
Yeah, that will get done when it's done. You can follow the show at GamePoints PC. You can follow us individually on Twitter at CapitalistPig21 for myself and Pouchlife_Sordory for David there. You can follow us on Facebook and give us a like there if you want to find out any updates on the show. For example, when we might be delayed till Wednesday instead of Monday. And as always, follow us on Twitch to know when we go live. But beyond all of that, I think that does it. This has been GamePoints, and we are out of here.